My pick of the week was the 2013 film Her. This is a film I think I watched in high school. Maybe I watched it in college. Who knows? Either contexts are weird, though. But yeah, this film is basically, we've got Joaquin Phoenix as Theodore. He recently got divorced. And because of that, he's really depressed. He has a hard time connecting with other people. And he ends up finding an operating system that is sweeping the nation. And it's super intelligent. It's like a hyper-intelligent AI. Nowadays, it's not that crazy of a thought. But back in 2013, this is some revolutionary shit. And he falls in love with the AI. He kind of uses that AI to work through his emotions about the divorce. There's some drama with his wife and not wanting to actually go through with the divorce in the end. Him learning more about himself through the AI, and then, of course, the AI throughout the movie is progressively just getting smarter and smarter and smarter until it kind of snowballs to the point where they can't even, connect at all anymore, and she leaves him. And then the movie kind of ends on a somber note with him and one of his friends both kind of in the same position of being abandoned and not really knowing what to do, but kind of finding solace in each other. So it's a little bit of a hopeful ending.
Yeah, it's definitely very bittersweet, I would say.
Tanner, what's your haiku?
Here's my haiku as inspired by Her. An AI girlfriend cucks herself, then ghosts the guy. I'll stick to fleshlights.
That's fucking incredible. That's Can we edit some snap sounds?
Yeah, no, get some snaps in there.
Yeah, those were bars. Can you say that again?
Encore.
Jesus. I'll have to make a new one. This is a very well done film. I thought it was very good.
That's
nice
honestly shocking.
Story.
I was expecting to hate it.
No, I liked it. If I hated it, I would have said so during us watching the movie.
Yeah, honestly, I'm with Nico on this one. This doesn't seem like your type of movie at all. I thought you were going to come out and be like, this is fucking weird and I don't like it at all. I thought you were going to give it low B or something, probably. So you saying you like it and it's a well-made film is shocking to me as well. But yeah, give us your thoughts, man.
I love the retro-futuristic aesthetic. That's something I was really glomming onto the whole time.
He wouldn't fucking shut up about it. It looks like it's the 70s. Isn't that crazy, guys?
Just let me enjoy things. Yeah, I thought it was a nice little story, very good performance and whatnot. The only real problem I have, on one hand, I'm very glad they did not go the cliche route of, the AI turns evil and obsessive and whatever. But I don't know if I really like the ending we got, where it's like, she's too advanced now and she leaves. Bye. I would have liked something a bit more conclusive, I guess. Something with a bit more closure.
And this is where we disagree on films. Let's go back to, what the fuck film was it where we had that big discussion? I think it was the end of Evangelion, where about open-ended endings and things you can interpret. This movie has a very open-ended ending, I would say. There's a lot to ponder about it in terms of is it a good ending, is it a bad ending? Because I don't think the AI was a healthy relationship for him. I think he was kind of coping with it, and he mostly used it as a vehicle to better himself, just like the AI used him as a vehicle to better herself. She was learning off of him as she was also learning throughout the movie. And, that's all. The ending is alluded to the entire movie. She's constantly talking about getting smarter and smarter as it goes on, so it's not like it should have been that shocking, I would say. But it wasn't healthy for both of them, I would say. I think, they probably need people that are more like themselves, which is what the AI finds, too, because she can't even keep up with, or Theodore can't keep up with her anymore. That's why she's seeking out having 20 conversations with the different AIs the entire time. And I think Theodore kind of realizes that, too, which is why he finds solace with his friend. I think it's a nice ending. I think they kind of just realized they weren't right for each other, and I think it makes sense overall. So I don't have a problem with it personally.
So I didn't finish this movie. If I'm understanding this correctly, his wife dies. He gets a girlfriend AI.
No, they just get divorced.
Oh, he just gets divorced.
Yeah.
And then he gets a girlfriend AI that gets smart enough to realize that their relationship is bad, and it also leaves him.
No, you are interpreting this incorrectly, but also, you're interpreting something you didn't watch incorrectly, so fair. Yeah, basically, him and his wife just had disagreements. His wife was more emotional than he could really handle, and because of that, he kind of, not shuns her a bit, but he just wasn't reciprocative of what she is as a person, and because of that, they had a falling out. He was really, hurt by that, because he really loved her. He thought it was fine. and he took a lot of like personal harm because of that. You know, he had like some ego issues to work through. And then he finds the AI, and he can like finally connect with somebody because, you know, they're kind of like a yes man to him. But they have some like rocky parts of the relationship. They get through it. They get to the end and figure it out. And then of course she breaks up with him because like she just can't date some person that like, you know, is so simple like him.
Yeah, overall, I also agree with Jackson here. I think the ending was very good, you know? Like, ultimately, this film isn't about, like, who Theodore is actually, like, in love with throughout this whole thing. It's not about, like, oh, I want to, like, you know, get a relationship, you know, do all this shit. It's all about, like, him learning how to actually love somebody, because that's something that he obviously has trouble with throughout the film that we see. You know, like, he really like yearns for a relationship, but at the same time he really can't fucking handle something like that, because like, you know, once things start getting a little more serious with the AI, he fucking like freaks out about it. Like, he isn't able to really express that sort of love that she's wanting, as well as like, you know, just like initially, like when after they like, you know, have the fucking virtual sex or whatever, it shows that he's still, like, not really able to, like, think about what the other person wants. And so he's just kind of thinking about, like, oh, well, you know, I'm really not looking for a relationship or thing right now. And she's like, well, I never said anything about that. Like, you know, we were kind of talking about me here, which is something that was also reflected back in his previous marriage, where he really wasn't thinking about his wife's needs or anything like that, what she was wanting. He was just kind of focusing on himself the entire time. But, you know, at the end of the film, I definitely feel like he was able to, you know, take away some lessons. It seemed like he was, like, starting to feel that growth. But then, you know, she decided to fucking cuck him, so, oh well for him, I suppose. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is just a movie about watching Theodore's character development, and the other people in it are just vehicles for that. And he does have his character arc. He, like, finally accepts who he is. He finally understands how to love somebody, which is why his relationship with what the fuck's her name, Samantha?
Yeah.
It starts going well again, and they start to connect with each other a lot more because he finds that confidence in himself again. Also, let's just get the elephant out of the room here. This movie is beautifully shot. Mm-hmm. They do a lot of really fun things with the cinematography. I think the style of it is incredible too. Tanner talked about it a bit.
Yeah, it's like retro futuristic style.
Yeah, no, like it just seems well done, but not like overbearing with what it's trying to present. I like this style a lot. I think it's I think it's a very pleasing. I think this movie's gonna age really well overall.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Even in the age of like tons of AI shit that we have right now, I think this movie predicted a lot pretty fluidly, and I think it still aged pretty well. Also, the acting, it's Joaquin Phoenix. His acting was incredible throughout the entirety of it. Yeah. And him being the main lead for a really emotional role like this was a very good choice.
Yeah, I definitely think that, like, one of the more off-putting things for me about, like, sci-fi or, like, futuristic stories is just, like, how they fucking present the future itself. Like, the general setting, the atmosphere, it can feel very, like, a little too, like, sterile, I'd say, is a big thing. Or, like, you know, just a little too clean and shit like that. Whereas, like, you know, in this world, it all felt much more familiar to us, which is something I appreciated a lot. That didn't, like, you know, really take me out of it, where it's like, oh, well, I can't really relate to this all that much. Like, all the futuristic stuff was kind of more in the background, whereas, like, you know, the characters themselves we were focusing on had just, like, you know, a much more, I guess, quote-unquote, realistic setting for, like, us in the modern age. Now, Tanner.
Yeah.
What exactly was it about this film that you liked so much?
You know, I just thought it was a well-told and engaging story. See, as you were talking about your thing, I've realized a very fundamental difference with how we see this film. You were talking about, like, oh, his relationship with the AI was kind of like, you know, reflective of him learning how to have relationships with real people or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't see that at all, because in my mind, there's just a hard and fast line between how you interact with an AI and how you interact with people and what those interactions mean. Like, I do not interpret any of the things he's saying or doing with the AI to have any bearing on his relationships with people at all. So to me,
the movie backs you up with that too pretty consistently, so it's not a wrong way of looking at it.
Yeah, like your thing was like, oh, you know, he said this and that to the AI, which is like, you know, kind of similar to how his troubles with relationships with other people were. But in my mind, I'm just like, oh, he's talking like that because it's an AI and this is a weird situation. Like, I take it much more literally than you do.
I definitely think that he was actually in love with Samantha. It's, you can argue whether or not Samantha was actually ever in love with him because, it is an AI at the end of the day, but a super sophisticated one. This really, I guess, maybe brings up the topic of, like, can you truly love something like that if it's not like an actual person? Like, what is that, a soul or something? Who cares? Whatever. That's getting too into the weeds about it. I think it's better just to look at the relationship they had as just two people using each other for the most part. Samantha was using him to learn more about humans and just like evolve, and Theodore was using her to learn more about himself and emotions and boundaries and things of that nature. And they both got what they needed out of the relationship at the end. So whether or not they were like truly in love with each other or that worked out, I don't think really matters that much, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I kind of go the opposite direction, where I don't view this as like Joaquin Phoenix's character like growing and improving as a person. I see this as him like spiraling into like kind of a scary place where he's gonna start secluding himself from other people, and he's fallen in love with an AI, which you shouldn't do, and he's just like he's letting the despair of his divorce cause him to lose part of his humanity by willingly interacting with a machine. So I just have an entirely different interpretation.
Like,
yeah, and it still left him. That's
like,
crazy.
I don't see the growth. Like, it's like he grows to fail. Like, is that...
I think you guys, I mean, you can grow as a person in a relationship. Just because the relationship ended doesn't mean that there wasn't any growing that happened. People grow a lot when they're in a relationship with each other. They can learn a lot more about themselves, about how other people interact with them, and he did that. He grew a lot as a person. He worked through his emotions about the divorce. He understood it with her support. I think I would probably hard disagree on how you're viewing this movie, Tanner, but I do like that even though we have very different views about it, we still both took it well positively at the end of the day.
So Tanner, you enjoyed this film, but what about it do you feel like makes it really stand out from films like, let's say, Midnight Cowboy or All My Friends Hate Me?
Those ones are stupid and gay.
I see.
Bars.
What is there more to say about it? How about some negatives for this film? Personally, I think this movie is really fucking slow, which generally I'm not a huge... I don't normally take that as like a big negative, but this movie is really slow. Like, we were like pretty early on in like the opening segments of it, and I thought we were much farther than we were, but only like half an hour into this like 2+ hour movie. I think it definitely goes a little bit too far in that regard. It's a very artistic-y movie, and because of that, they have a lot of like long, drawn-out shots and stuff. I definitely think that Theodore is it's a very awkward movie, I would also say. There's some scenes that are really fucking awkward, which is like the point of them. But also, Theodore is like some weird stuff that you wouldn't actually really think somebody would do. Maybe I just don't understand Theodore more as a character, but like he does some weird stuff that I don't like fully think is very realistic. But yeah, generally I think my biggest gripe with this movie is just like the pacing is absurdly slow. I think it's a well-paced movie in terms of like where it sequences its content, but it just has a lot of like padding for artistic stuff, which I think could probably have passed.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that.
Nico, a real answer to your question is I like the setting and the characters in this one more.
Okay.
Like Midnight Cowboy, I actively just do not like our main characters, and so like it being a character-based story where I don't like the characters just means the movie is nothing for me. And then All My Friends Hate Me, yeah, I like actively dislike all of our characters in that one, and so
that's fair enough. I think the movie kind of wants you to.
I guess that makes sense. I guess, like, one more positive here before we, like, get onto the rankings, and also before we hear what Dylan's thoughts on the movie are. I'm assuming it's going to be rather dire, but one more thing I do want to say about it is that I do really appreciate, like, how confident, I guess, the film is with, like, the story it's trying to tell, because I could very easily see this film, like, having, like, a big B-plot where it's, like, some fucking scientist or, like, programmers working on the AIs, and they're like, oh no, it seems like the AIs are, they're learning at a much faster rate than we would have expected. What's going on here? And then, like, a fucking shitstorm erupts once, like, all the AIs, like, fucking go off into their own space or whatever, and it's like, oh no, what's going on? This is a nightmare! Oh! I like that they, just kept the story small and focused and didn't do some stupid bullshit like that.
The only real hints we get at, like, what might be happening in the larger world with AIs is when he's talking to, what's her name, Sam, the redhead, at work, and she's like, oh, you know, our coworker started dating an AI, and there's someone else's AI. Like, it's just these little snippets that, oh, weird stuff is happening with all the AIs. Okay.
Yeah, you can see people, like, walking in the streets, talking to them all the time as well. They have some shots of that happening. So there's definitely more going on behind the scenes. I agree with Nico on that, too. This movie is definitely very small in scale, even though it didn't have to be, and I could have seen them going much more broad with what they're trying to present. But yeah, no, this movie is very close in scope, which I can appreciate a lot for, like, an emotional piece like this.
And before you fucking type in the comments, we know what they're called OSs, that's what they're referred to throughout the movie, and not AIs. Fuck you. And here's Dylan's thoughts on the movie.
Alright, so this is my review of Her. And I think call me crazy for thinking this, I think this is a very interesting chick flick. And I know you guys are probably thinking I'm crazy for saying that, but I don't know, it's just the vibe it was giving me in general. I do think it was an interesting concept, but there was just not anything in the movie that gave me anything to latch on to. This movie was one heck of an emotional roller coaster. Like, it was always throwing me for loops, and you know, I was kind of getting the purpose of the story, but I mean, it is just a weird concept in general that, you know, dating AI or OS AI or whatever you want to call it, just basically dating your computer. And for some reason that was a point that was stressed as, oh, it's not just a computer in this movie, which, you know, it's kind of whatever. And I get it's a movie depicting this man's life and his dating life and what he can handle, what he can't handle. He's learning how to handle his emotions and his socialness and all this kinds of stuff. And the movie kind of goes just back and forth between him evolving as a person emotionally or mentally or whatever, and then finding out his faults and flaws, and then Sam, the AI, going and advancing beyond him, and then it's just kind of like a race between the two, and eventually just ends up being, you know, he kind of leaves her in a way of, like, he's not sure what he wants, and he's just emotionally disconnected. At the very end of the movie, she ends up leaving him because, you know, AI things is kind of whatever. The ending just kind of the ending was just kind of whatever. The movie at the very end of the day fell really flat for me. I don't think it was a bad movie. It just didn't do anything particularly well. Like, even the emotional connections it was attempting to do were just not there. There were no strong points in the movie. There's nothing that really stood out in my mind. And, you know, I don't really know what else to say about this movie. I guess there was some character resolution in the end. He finally figured out how to be good on his own, which is, I guess, you know, I would say is a good thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand what this movie was trying to reveal at the very end. I think it was just, you know, trying to show that relationships are complicated and difficult no matter who you are, what you do, or what you are, whatever you want to say. But, yeah, my general overall for this movie is it fell a little flat. Didn't think it was particularly great. Didn't think it was awful. So with that, I think this movie lands at a C for me personally.
Wow.
Boo! Boo!
Yeah, fuck that
you,
guy. Yeah, as you heard from him, he gave it a fucking D. Wait, what did he give it? I don't remember.
He gave it a solid C.
He gave it a C. Fuck that guy. Tanner, what are you giving it?
I gave this one an A.
Whoa, I like that. I'm also gonna give it an A. Jackson, how about you?
Yeah, I gave it an S minus. I think this is an incredibly well done movie. I don't think the pacing issues were enough to really drag it down a shit ton for me. This is definitely a hard movie to recommend, I would say.
Oh yeah, 100%.
For a lot of reasons, but I really enjoyed it. This is definitely my style of movie, unsurprisingly. I picked it a lot. I picked it because I liked it a lot back in the day, and I still liked it now. Probably even more so now because I can understand more about, like, what makes a good film. So yeah, there we go.
And where does it land, dude?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. It lands at an A minus overall. Honestly,
Holy
Dylan's
cow.
ranking of C does not bring it down as far as I expected it to.
Shocking.